Today, on This American Dice, Ryoko Owari, City of Lies, Episode 51. What happens when the secrets are revealed to a viper? What happens when the truth is discovered about those who have stalked the streets of the City of Green Walls, the City of Stories, the City of Lies? What happens when that truth is uncovered? And what is the darker truth behind it? And what could keep one of the Emperor's hands of justice trapped in their house? Find out today on This American Dice.
Our cold open starts with Yugare in essentially the courtyard of Asako Kento's. And remember, he had purchased some of the property behind his house to expand this yard in order to continue this excavation of these serpentine artifacts. You arrived here and discovered that you arrived here after you got the news that Asako Kento had been killed. They believe it was a robbery. He was killed not far from his bed, and they believe, and the Thunder Guard can tell you, or other people can tell you that, it definitely seems like valuables were taken. And if you go in there, it looks like someone has kind of tossed the place for valuables of this kind and that kind. The kind of places where you might keep money or jewelry or like nicer clothes are opened up, and those things are not in them. You noticed that there also seem to be some of these artifacts that are missing. Yugare's eyes had started to glow as you were trying to find out more information about what was going on.
I remember now.
So are we right before a roll?
I think so.
We talked about it, you were like, I'm going to have a vision now.
Wisdom of the common move. That's a 10.
Oh, that's not bad. That's so cool. Yeah. So 10, using the comments.
That means I asked 3.
Alright, go for it. I'm going to try to answer these to give you the most information I can.
What is hidden from me?
Something very dark was done here. Dirty deeds. They were done dirt cheap. Dirty deeds. Something dark was done here fairly recently. But I'll tell you the extra thing that is hidden from you for a slightly different reason. These runes resisted it.
Interesting. The runes being the artifact relics?
Serpentine artifacts, yeah. So runes, not runes.
Okay. Oh, okay. Where can I find what I seek? I'm looking for the people responsible. Solid.
See, Taiyo. You've been to a place of darkness. No, you've been to a place of despair, and the same feeling that you got from the comic before about that place of great darkness on Teardrop Island. Mm-hmm. It's a similar feeling. And you know of a place that you've been in the Fisherman's Quarter that is connected to this darkness. That is connected to this degree of despair. And they're not exactly the same, but they have a similar feeling to them, or the comic presents them in a similar light.
It's got the same spiritual feel sense.
Sure. I mean, if it was an animal, it had a similar musk to it, but you're not dealing with smell.
Also depends on whether it's in heat. What?
Please don't start. This just continues. It's horrible.
What is the greatest danger threatening me or my allies?
Whatever was responsible for taking these ruins away and taking these artifacts, whatever was responsible for killing Kento, is something far larger than you are, something far larger and far darker than rise.
Oh.
And it is,
I'm only now beginning to realize.
it's woven its way around each of you.
All right.
Taking the basket heads.
I don't think this was normal burglars.
Good job. That's what I take it away.
It's a very tall bird. Bigger than you ever imagined.
Bigger than normal burglars.
Well, I guess I would go back and report my spiritual findings to the crew.
So, cool. Here's what I think is going to go on with this. I'm going to say that after that scene, we have the we see Yugare discovering this information.
Sure.
If you have any quick idea of how the audience sees that, if this is a TV show, does Yugare almost catch it in like flashbacks?
I want to say that there's like, you said his eyes light up and
That's based on what you had said at the end of the last session.
his head rolls back and like you see all around him, but like the shift of the lens focus and like filter shows that we're like now in this vision, and all the, if there are any like ruins with serpents around him, they like come to life, but like as maybe it shows them fighting off like a dark shadow that's trying to take them, and then but the shadows overtake the serpents, and then the shadows just start like we like zoom out drastically and see the shadows like coiling all around the city and going to that place in the fisherman's quarter, and then we see like kind of one at a time to the different magistrates, and there's like this shroud of the same thing around them as well.
A large city surrounded by green walls and acres of poppy fields. A group of monks traveled toward the city, exchanging prayers for whatever alms the poor peasants of the countryside could spare. In the noble quarter, we see a beautiful but imposing palace and a foreign-looking minareted estate. In the temple quarter, we see the glistening white temple of the sun goddess with a 60-foot pole topped by a shimmering golden spear, and the temple of the fortune of wealth with its towering statue of the patron god of the city. Next door, in the merchant quarter, we see busy streets with noisy merchants selling wares from all over Rokugan and beyond. On the other side of the Bay of Drowned Honor, the fisherman's quarter, dirtier with poorer commoners, meaner gangs, and shabby dwellings amid the docks and warehouses. We pass the leather workers' quarter, the home of the Hida, the Untouchables, and the only building of notice there, the city crematorium. Finally, we arrive at Teardrop Island, the license quarter, with its perpetual twilight of hanging lanterns, fine sake, and geisha houses. We follow a man in a basket hat as he's beckoned inside by a beautiful geisha. He enters and removes his hat. We see one of the monks from the beginning, Ryoko Owari, City of Lies.
With 2 to 3 days of downtime. So, yes, everybody going well.
I can join you.
I can hardly feel it anymore.
All right. So 2 to 3 days pass, and each of you is able to rest a bit, heal from the almost at least 72 hours of action that you guys have been dealing with in the last couple game sessions. It might have been more than that. So it was definitely 48 hours. It might have been about 72 hours.
It's a poor investment I made.
So on the last evening of that downtime, Ishi finds himself in a village near the town, kind of out in the countryside, in one of these small, near a farm. For the most part, it's the winter. There's not a lot of kind of busyness out in the fields, especially as it's getting towards the later part of the night. And we see Ishi kind of trudging through past some brambles And we see this from Ishi's perspective. So we see kind of these brambles that we see her hands kind of like move away to the side, and we see a small child who's maybe 9 or 10 years old, trying to kind of corral chickens that have seemingly gotten out of a coop and getting them back in. And the sun has just gone down, and it seems as though this child has kind of completed whatever chores that they have to do and attempted to do something, and these chickens got out of this coop. And we see the kid the sun goes down, and this kid just is kind of rounding up the last of these chickens and getting them into the coop, kind of doing oh geez, this took a really long time. My dad was gonna kill me if he saw that these chickens were out of here, kind of a thing. And as the child is working on mending the latch on the coop, like he's trying to just use string and tie a knot with this battered piece of twine, and Ishi slowly approaches this child, and we see again from the perspective of Ishi himself, and we maybe even see from this child's perspective this tall figure of Ishi hovering over the child, and Ishi feels this irresistible hunger. And then we just hear the chickens go crazy, like a shot of the empty night sky, as it then gets silent again. And then Ishi pulls upright in bed, and he had that vision, and he's in the magistrate's residence, in his bed. He's covered in a cold sweat. We see a tall, older woman that we've seen only probably twice before. She's thin. I think that she's played actually by the same actress that played Aji's mother, and we did a shitty job of casting. We were like, she's got enough range. She'll be both of these old ladies. We did that kind of thing. So it's the same. And we said that was either the woman who played the Mother of Thorns in Game of Thrones, or Dame Judi Dench. And we see Kitsu Senshi. Who's that?
Oh, the old man who died?
Nope. Kitsu Senshi is a woman. And she's an old. Yes. We see Kitsu Senshi approaching Taiyo's house. And she's wearing thicker clothes. She has kind of the Kitsu mon of her family that has a lion featured on it. And she arrives at Taiyo's house. And I think the scene cuts away and we cut back in to a meeting between herself and Taiyo.
I feel Taiyo's maybe it was the equivalent of a couch or something. He's laid out as if he's recovered from injury. I feel Taiyo's made a point to just not leave since he got back.
Okay.
It's I'm injured, I can't go to the civil hall.
Sure.
These days.
Yeah, so maybe you're seated in such a way that kind of suggests that you're leaning in such a way that suggests oh, I'm so hurt.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But Kitsu Senshi joins you and she says, I wanted to thank you, Taiyo-san, for you and your compatriots' efforts.
In the cult?
Yes. I had held off officially retiring to I don't know if they say monastery for women as well, but I think they do. But from
the nunnery.
Yeah, from retiring to a monastery to investigate this cult further. But thankfully, you and your comrades kept true to your word, and you looked for that cult, and I appreciate it. And thus, my work here in the city is complete.
I appreciate the help that you gave us for that, even though eternally Taiyo's you didn't help
say, well, I've worked in the city for some time, and I had done a lot of investigating. You kept your promise to me, and I hope to keep my promise to you.
That would be appreciated, especially if you have any of the research that you did. I can share that with my colleagues too.
She says
to root out any stragglers.
Oh, yes. Well, I mostly was speaking, of course, of giving you this. And she reaches into her robes, and she has an item. And she says, we spoke of keeping your family safe. And she presents that item to you. There's a chance it's made of jade. It's most likely made of jade, or has jade on it or in it. It's an item, she says, that will protect your house from, like, dark spirits. But what is this item?
She's like a lion, I guess. Is it too dumb to say like a jade lion or something?
No.
Lion that's maybe reared up, so it's attack or defense mode or something.
Okay. Sure. And she says this should help to keep your house safe from dark spirits.
Taiyo will just take it and just go, I really appreciate it. So I worry about my family every time I leave. So grateful that you could give this to me.
She nods. She says, I've over the years that I've lived here and been investigating, I've found several people to be quite reliable, far more to be disappointing. But a person whose reliability is beyond reproach is Ikoma Yuriko.
That's someone we know?
It's someone in the dossier, but who we've never met on camera.
That's Ikoma's a lion name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's from another Mayan family. And by Ko, you can tell it's a woman. So she'll say, she's a samurai Ko of utmost honor, and I've given her much of the information that I found her competence to be refreshing in the city. She over the years I've used her almost as a sounding board on ideas or investigations. You're good. But so basically saying like she knows a lot of the stuff.
A lot of the stuff about the cults?
The stuff that, Kitsu Senshi had been looking into.
Okay, perfect help. I'm sure we'll seek her out then. Does it seem like I can trust her?
Yeah, go ahead. If you want to make a roll, but this lady doesn't seem to be presenting herself in a way that's other than trustworthy.
I'll give it a shot.
I love that kind of thing.
Love what?
I love that. Yeah, go ahead, go for it. You trust her.
11. So.
Damn, you could have mastered.
Can I trust her?
Is she telling the truth?
No, first question is anything.
Can you trust this Kitsu Senshi, right? That's her name? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
100% trust.
That's the most important thing. Is that conversation basically over after that? If so, I'll just shoot these questions. If we
if you have specific stuff you want to ask her, but I feel like her part in this question is kind of, you asked me to, this conversation is, you asked me to create something for you, for your family. You promised you'd look into this moon cult. I've seen you've definitely done exactly that. I've created this thing indeed for you, and now that moon cult thing seems to be solved, I am leaving the city. Right. I'm retiring.
Is she a Shugenja, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, where will you go now? Back to your homeland? Or no, back to the monastery? Right?
She's gonna go back to Lionlands and to a monastery there. Yeah.
How old is she? Just super elderly, or?
She's pretty old. She's like at least in her
60s, 70s?
Like late 60s or 70s. Yeah. So she's old. She's not as old as Kinto was. This game system does make some implications that kind of Jedi style Shugenja age can live longer because of their connections with the elements and that kind of thing. Yeah. So maybe she's older than that.
That makes sense.
But yeah, she looks to be a woman near or in her 70s.
Of advanced age.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to waste these questions, so this was the character wish I do. I think I know the answer to this, but just in case.
She was, I'll kind of give you some of her personality with this. She was disappointed that you guys didn't tackle some of these things straight away. Mm-hmm. And she spoke with Yugare, and then later on when she spoke with you, and you were like, I need the help of a Shugenja. And it was like, one of your comrades is a Shugenja. Yeah. So basically, her opinion is you guys are all over the place. What she wishes you would do is focus on something and deal with it. Mm-hmm. And she might even tell you that in a pretty judgmental way. Mm-hmm. Of I'm glad that you finally focused on something and accomplished it. Yeah, so I feel she's a woman in her older years about to retire. She was not nasty, but real blunt to start with, and that now she's whatever she was holding back before, she's not holding back anymore.
Very little motivation to save face.
Yeah, right, because it's all right, well, this is my last day at this job kind of thing. She's going to retire and become a monk.
I guess what is she really feeling? That'll be my last one.
Oof. I feel like I'm going to just be repeating myself there.
That's fine.
No, she's glad that you're getting this stuff together. She's relieved. She's very old and has she had so much of her life was being a magistrate. When she was retired from that position, she chose not to retire to a monastery to continue this investigation as a private citizen. She's old. She's tired. She wants to go off and live in peace. She's glad that this investigation of this moon cult was finally kind of concluded. So that's what she wants. She wants to kind of go off and live in peace. She's glad that the thing that she was dealing with is done. She is surprised that you guys did it. And again, that's kind of the zing that you get. She's surprised you guys did it, but she's not at all upset that it happened not because of her. Yeah. That's the one thing about her that's actually somewhat surprising as a person who devoted so much of their self to this. She's not mad that she didn't deal with it.
Yeah.
So.
That's pretty much it then. I mostly wanted to make sure that we trust her. So she wasn't. She could be. Yeah. She could be in a basket hat.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right. So keep those answers in mind because I think Senshi invites you to a tea house to kind of see to see her off.
I don't know if Taiyo would go.
So
It's a little fucked up.
She gonna have a banner and a little party and everything?
no, I think she wants to introduce you to Akoma Yuriko.
Oh my god.
I think Taiyo will try to give that invitation to someone else. Shouldn't the other magistrates?
Okay, then I think this just doesn't happen then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, there's a giant cult that's altering people's minds.
Yeah, well, you
I'm not leaving my house.
You have this lion. It will save your family.
All the more reason not to leave the lion.
Spoiled master.
So we see her in the House of the Morning Star, and we see that the geisha actually is one that we've seen on screen before with Aji specifically, and that is Precious.
Oh, man, I was kind of excited. This sounds Magda. I would have lost my shit.
And we see her about to go into like a private, like one of the private chambers, the kind of chamber that we've seen Aji with her in before, when we like smoked opium. And we see a look on her face, and she looks nervous. And especially these like very high like culture, high value geisha are supposed to be almost unflappable in their like expressions and appearance. They're supposed to be like almost always on. She looks nervous. So you can see like through her makeup maybe some sweat beating down her brow, and she kind of tries to compose herself a bit, and she succeeds, but still there's something that's nervous about her. And we see her slowly. She kind of does kind of a bowing thing to enter the room, and then enters in a way showing respect to what's clearly going to be like a samurai patron. And inside, we hear a voice that we've definitely heard before, but at first it's from off camera. And he's like, you hear, it's a man's voice, and you hear it in the slick, charming voice say, "Oh, little bird, welcome back. I thought you might take longer, but I'm very surprised." And she approaches this person and kind of gets fairly close by, and is like, "Well, I've made my decision, and I'm more than willing to. I have it for you." And she reaches into kind of her robes, and she hands a like a folded piece of paper to a man, and that man is Bayushi Saigo. And Bayushi Saigo smiles at her, and he says, I'd always heard that you didn't disappoint, and I'm very glad. And he gets himself like kind of he opens it up, and he looks over it briefly, and we see kind of over his shoulder that it has a list of names on it. And there's specifically lists of like samurai names. We see a lot of the families that we hear bouncing around back and forth all the time, but there are only two names on it that we recognize. And two of those names are Shosuro Jocho and Kakita Aji. Bayushi Saigo kind of like haphazardly folds it and puts it away, and she says, like, I really shouldn't give that out to anyone at all. A geisha's clientele are supposed to be, and I think he almost like touches her lips with his finger, and he's like, I understand that you can't say anything. There's absolutely no need. And then I think he kisses her or something. The camera cuts away as seduction occurs. We see Kakita Aji after we just saw his name. Maybe like we see like a shot of that. Maybe rather than tucked into Saigo's like robes, that list was just kind of tossed to the side, and the name that's just visible is Kakita Aji. And then we see Kakita Aji at sitting in a sake house. It's one of the nicer sake houses, probably in the downhill district of the Merchant Quarter. And soon afterwards, we kind of look. Would you rather have it that we look over to we see Bayushi Saigo come in, or we do like a reveal where like Aji's sitting there drinking, and then we see him doing that for a while, and then we reveal that Saigo's been sitting with him?
was in the teacup the whole time.
He was in the he had a teacup on his head. Do you have a preference on that? I don't think he's sneaking up on you. I think like you're hanging out with him.
And like, no, he has to be walking in.
Dramatic entrance.
Okay. So I think if he's walking in, he kind of sees you, and I think you were maybe supposed to meet with him to chat, or he like invited you out for a drink. And he comes in, and Saigo again mostly wears kind of like the dark gray or red, or dark gray or black and red kind of scorpion clan colors. He rarely wears armor like we had him before. I think he hasn't. Every time you've seen him since then, he's not worn any kind of armor. He has a mask that it was like a Robin-esque mask, just a little domino kind of deal, and he has long black hair. And he says, "Aji-san, it's so good to see you."
You as well. How are you faring today?
Ah, wonderful. It's a cold day, but still beautiful. And I think he sits down with you. He's like, "Can I get you a drink?"
Yes, of course.
He might say, like, you might already have sake there. He might say, like, "Oh, may I pour you a drink?"
Yes.
All right. So he'll pour you a drink, and then afterwards, maybe the people of the waitress will come up and kind of like pour him a drink as well. Kind of thank her with a nod, and he'll say, we'll almost do like a cheers. Say like, "To more of these beautiful days in this city."
And the peace that comes with that.
Oh, absolutely. And he'll do whatever didn't drink the sake. And say, I've been talking to my cousin, who is confusingly named and he uses probably some term to suggest she is a distant cousin, and her name is confusingly Bayushi Saisho, but he'll just refer to her as his cousin to avoid that. That's Koichiba's wife. And he says, and she was telling me about some of the problems that this city had. I absolutely agree. Looking forward to peace is something good.
Yes. As a magistrate, I don't know what problems to focus on.
He says, "I understand." He says, my own family seems to have run into that problem in the past, but I mean, perhaps you could help me with something.
I'd love to.
And he goes, "From what I understand, my cousin and her husband had said that a merchant of theirs had actually been killed and robbed in the city."
Do you know the name of this merchant?
And so Aji remembers that if he's talking about one of these merchants that was killed and murdered, he means the merchant horse. And so he'll say like, "Oh, I believe she was a stable master."
Yes, I know which merchant you're talking about. There was a sort of feud between the unicorn and Koichika about this merchant.
Oh, yes. And he'll say those kind of feuds are so unpleasant. I mean, over somebody whose job is to brush some animal's hair and clean up its shit. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I personally don't understand what the big deal is about, but I know what was the unicorn's name?
It was
Shinjo Yoshifusa. Hold on. Shinjo Sanafusa.
That's right, Sanafusa did it. I don't know if I told you that.
Sanafusa.
Taiyo, but it's national. I know it. I talked to Sanafusa. Remembering when I spoke to Sanafusa, looks like he never let go of that grudge about that merchant horse. Is there something you need to know?
Say it's just one of those things. I mean, you come into you arrive in a new city and you want to understand what's going on. Have there been any other issues between the unicorn and people here, or is that I mean, I know they're sometimes their foreign blood runs in ways that's a little different than ours, but I mean, surely they can't be making too many enemies. Or unicorns. What?
I mean, I was expecting the problems to end after the duel with Ishi ended. So are you saying there's like lingering issues?
No, I just didn't know if there were any other problems.
Do I know that Baronato is behind the attacks?
You guys have talked about that.
Alright, yes, I go. A while ago, I was informed that Hida Baronato has been attacking, like, opium fields.
Huh. Interesting. That's...
I mean, that's the livelihood of the city. It's the main source of income.
Well, people I really feel for are the sick old folks who rely on that medicine. It's a shame.
And these are just rumors, so I can't officially do anything. If you have any ideas, I'd be more than welcome to hear them.
Yes, as well. I mean, I'm sure as a magistrate, if you think that there's been a tax on a lawful purveyor of opium in the city, then I mean, I'm sure it would be within your jurisdiction to deal with that. I'm certainly not going to get in the way of you conducting the Emperor's justice. I mean, that's not my job is to come here and take care of my cousin and avenge her son's murder. Make that right. It's not to watch over their household, given the misfortune she's endured. But I'm sure that any kind of crimes that have been committed of that type, your comrades are more than capable of solving, even if perhaps the testimony seems elusive.
Thank you for your confidence. Is there anything else? Any other issues?
He says, only that we seem to be in need of more sake. And he'll kind of like give an eye to the waitress. She'll come over and bring another bottle of sake. Is that you trying to read him?
Yeah.
All right, go for it. You got an 8?
An 8 plus.
Just an 8? Mm-hmm. Just an 8. Alright, so you get one question.
Straight 8s.
I love that card game. Straight 8s.
Yes.
You just draw 4 cards and see if you can get straight 8s. It's crazy.
It's a good card. Actually, I only wanted one question, and that question is, what does your character wish I do?
Does your character wish? What does his character wish you do?
Yeah.
He wants you to go after the unicorn. He basically kind of puts it as like you're right. That does sound That does sound pretty bad. If he's doing that, that seems like it's definitely an example of civil disorder. Seems like something that like you guys are more than capable of. Alright. That and like your abilities, but also like your jurisdiction.
Get a round of drinks. I don't really have any more questions.
Alright.
It's nice to ever see you act on the Scorpion.
Including the one you work with, huh?
Yeah.
That guy's a badass. Okay?
Well,
Now see how it really is.
Governor Hayobu is going to ask you to come and talk with her. Will you go talk with her? If the answer is no, then we'll just move on to another thing.
How long are you going to not leave your house for? You fucking hermit.
If you want, you can think about it and come to somebody else.
Yeah.
This could work for Yugare or Ishi. So either one. Or both of you.
You go after your dream?
I guess. I don't know what this is, so...
Alright, so you guys, at some point the servants say like, oh, there's a man here to see, Taiyo the magistrate. But he also said he'd see Yugare.
Taiyo is indisposed.
Do you see this person? Because right now you're just starting the servant.
Then
So
yes.
okay. So when you go to see this person, it's Shrimp. So again, 1990s Joe Pesci. And
Hello, Shrimp.
he's like, "Oh, hey, I thought Taiyo was gonna be here."
Taiyo's unavailable.
Oh, I'm not here anymore.
Wow, it's weird. I thought he'd be at the magistrate residence as one of the magistrates, but I guess nobody's in their house no more.
Well, there are 4 of us to handle the needs of the city. How can I help you?
He's like, well, I told him I'd be looking into the ninja that killed Jatomen-san.
Yes, that is a somber but necessary task. What have you found?
All right, so here's how this is going to work. You can, I think, roll plus sagacious, and we'll see what you find. You're going to find some of this information for sure, but it just might come with strings attached to it or consequences.
Strings. That's a total of 13.
13 is not a bad one. All right, so okay, I think Shrimp kind of gives you one of these like I mean, I could just show you; it'll be easier.
Very well.
And if Ishi were to want to come along with this one, it works.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, so we can maybe
I'll blow my Ishi whistle.
if there are others.
That sounds what people say.
Yeah, if there's other moves, we can maybe like farm up for this stuff. But all right, Shrimp has been kind of asking around, and Shrimp kind of delves into quarters that certainly Yugare doesn't. Ishi has poked his head into, but he leaves kind of a bigger footprint, literally and figuratively. So Shrimp's been talking to especially a lot of the firemen. And like we said, the firemen have been busy fighting with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And as a dude who is technically in the Mantis clan, but seems like a Ronin, he's been getting approached by a lot of merchants asking to hire him on as a Yojimbo.
Mm-hmm.
And he's taken on kind of like short stint jobs here and there. And the thing that they're all afraid of, but unwilling to really say, is the ninja. And again, they've heard that the ninja have summoned these Onis that are in the city, the Oni that destroyed that warehouse in the fisherman quarter and attacked all of these people, the Oni that was found up in the lunar cave, an Oni that attacked all of these people in the seven corners of the merchant quarter. And so they've heard all of these things. That the ninja are responsible for this. They're kind of like their evil magics have been doing this. And so a lot more of them have been scared. And some of them have been essentially paying protection money as alms, as offerings to the ninja to get them to leave them alone. And what he's discovered from dealing with some of these ninja is that the people that were at Jitomen's dojo that were dead were not at all connected with the ninja.
Those weren't actually ninja people?
No. Like, to the knowledge of any of the ninja, though they weren't there, or none of them know, let me put this way. None of them know anybody who specifically did that. But all of the merchants nearby are convinced that it indeed was the ninja. And that, like, only the ninja could kill so skilled a swordsman, of course, because they have dark, evil magic. Here's the deal. You guys are going to find the actual leader of the ninja.
Oh.
So based on that roll. And you're going to discover what's going on.
Really good.
How do Yugare and Ishi find, and Shrimp, don't forget Shrimp, can't forget Shrimp.
Can't forget.
Find this ninja hideout, the ninja leader, and get this information from her.
I want to say there was like down a dark alleyway, there was almost like this door leading down. There was two, and I want to say like an abandoned sake house. That he was like, oh, I heard like the ninja were here, but I don't think they're here anymore. We were just like, well, show us wherever you found. And so he took us there, and it's like this abandoned, I'd say like, I don't know exactly where, but just a little abandoned bar, and it's only because we were looking in these small weird places that we found anybody.
I don't want to step on Branden's toes for that, but I was thinking something like, when Shrimp takes us to one of these people who's been bullied by the ninja, and he's telling us, like, this is what happened, and, you know, this crazy thing happened across the street, and from the description you can tell he's being really, like, superstitious, and there's no way this thing he's describing happened, although maybe Yugare's taken in a little bit by it, but fortunately there are more skeptical people nearby, maybe. And Shrimp's like, see, like, they're just taking advantage of this superstition, maybe even right in front of the guy.
Hey, starts crying.
I swear.
They're out there. The truth.
So,
She just can't see.
but there's like a kid who works there, like grandson or something.
This abandoned sake house?
No, at the shop. Where the superstitious man.
Superstitious man.
And so he's like, well, my grandson said he found a ninja hideout, but of course that's crazy. But I told him to stay away because, you know, you never know when ninja are going to climb out of the shadows and eat your heart. So we're like, well, let's go check that out. And so we go there, and it's like Branden described. It's just like, you know, an abandoned. I mean, maybe it's an abandoned sake house. Maybe it's more like an abandoned, just like a house, but people had thrown parties there. So like a.
So it's been it's like a derelict house, like not hobos, but like kids use and that kind of shit.
Yeah, and then people who were selling, like, it was like a makeshift bar for a while, like a.
So this is in like a really shitty part of the merchant quarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's like dim real estate everywhere.
Definitely.
And we see it like this is nothing like the place Yugare saw last time. Like, they've had like maybe a nicer setup last time, slightly. At least, like, you don't feel like you need to like take a shower afterward. But so maybe we dismiss it, or other people do. But then you guys like, no, wait, because his spirit for the day, maybe it's like the fire spirit or something, and it starts showing people in links of fire coming in and out of this place.
They're coming in and out of like there's like almost a hidden door leading downstairs or something.
Yeah.
And that's really how we find it.
So yeah, find this hidden door, and you guys head down there.
It's definitely much more like the ninja place you'd found previously. Like you can tell, like, oh, this is like used as a base almost, like it's taken care of on like upstairs.
Is it occupied when you get there?
I don't think so. I think we think it's empty until we find her.
Okay.
I think it seems.
This is weird too, but I think maybe he never seen Yugare's spirit that much, like his spirit companion. But it takes the form of like a small person and is walking around and is like beckoning to like come this way, and it leads straight to the lady.
Okay.
It's like a tiny hiding space that the grandson only found or something before. You said as a little kid.
Yeah.
So the little kid found it out.
So does the spirit show you this hideout, or did this child tell you about it?
Well, the child told us where it was. We went there.
Okay. I don't think his father would let him go. Or his grandfather would let him go.
So then the spirit
like took over the guiding once we got there.
Okay. The Ryoko Ninja are not at all magical. They are exactly what we kind of initially at some point thought was. So they're a gang of people that have used the mystique of the ninja to scare folks. So the ninja are kind of like one of the many boogeymen that exist in Rokugan. And people are afraid of enough things that if they can build up this fear, they can get folks to pay them even though they don't have like the muscle of the Thunder Guard or the firefighter gangs. And if they can kind of spread themselves here and there to target folks who are superstitious enough or in a bad enough pinch, they can get amounts of money from all over the city rather than just focus on one neighborhood, which is all firemen did.
Weird group of firemen, pretty much.
Kind of, yeah, they're a gang that spreads themselves thinly throughout the city, but they utilize fear. And the big thing that they've done is whenever something happens that people don't know who did it, they take credit for it.
So they're terrorists.
So people will definitely argue that, but like from what you're getting, the big thing is they're extortionists.
Yeah.
And so they'll say like lots of people that maybe that you talk to are convinced that the Oni stuff was actually ninja. That riot at the Seven Corners was ninja. That they caused that. That ninja were out in that lunar cave and summoned some other kind of monster doing something dark. That ninja were responsible for Narutoki's death. They do that in order to kind of further build up their mystique as this ever-present, all-powerful, unstoppable force. In actuality, they're not that. And they had to kind of go into hiding for a while. But these firefighter gangs fighting with one another and the opium cartels kind of arguing with one another has given them the opportunity of people can't so easily go to either the regular authorities because they're busy or the firefighters because they're busy fighting one another. So folks have been more willing to give up things to these ninja, and they've been like fairly afraid. And you're able to find kind of a ninja hideout. And I think you guys can go in there. There might be some ninja. It's up to you to tell me that if they're actually there or not.
Why can they fit in such little spaces?
So that's the thing. Well, eventually I think you're able to find a place that seems like it's maybe cleared out of stuff, and then Yugare remembers that he was able to think they almost supernaturally could fit into these small spaces, and you guys start maybe looking through this place in a way that you wouldn't normally, looking in places that wouldn't make sense to look for a person, and you are able to find someone who is very, very small. So,
inches? How many inches?
No, like the size of almost a toddler.
Okay.
Is an adult.
an adult-shaped person?
Yes. So, like a little person, but of extremely small proportions.
Okay.
Who's also, I think, missing.
Missing what?
I think.
Where does this person get clothes tailored?
Missing like at least an arm or a leg, and so like it's in an even smaller space than a person that small could normally fit in. And you discover basically that that's how this person, and her name is Yusra. She's a foreigner.
I don't know what I'm supposed to think of that.
Well, this Ryoko Owari is one of the only places where we regularly encounter foreigners.
No,
I just wonder if they're all her size or if she.
She's far because of her size, or
No, she's a foreigner. I think she like looks very clearly of like a different ethnicity. When she does speak, she has like an accent.
okay.
But she can tell you that she was essentially brought here as a curiosity when she was a little girl. She was kidnapped by the leader of the ninja to use as a spy to get dirt on people since she could fit into these tiny spaces.
Sorry.
Yeah. But eventually,
Tell me about this issue.
yeah. So, she used to use opium, and that's partially how like the leader of the ninja like got her kind of under their sway. But having a minion that's under like who's always high isn't super useful. So once Yusra was like clean, which was not a fun experience, and realized she was being like essentially used not only by the people who brought her here as a curiosity, but later on by the leader of the ninja, she organized among other ninja to kill the old leader, she'd been operating through a series of face men, like where like the ninja don't know who the leader of the ninja is, but it's Yusra. Yeah. The deal is that Yugare knows that there was something dark connected to this, darker than just this crime syndicate. And when he like questions her about that, one of the things that he finds is that she was pushed to get rid of her predecessor by someone, and she can't remember who it was. And you can just tell that's the dark force that pushed her to do it. And she doesn't know who it was. She literally can't think of a name at all.
Did she ever have the same feeling again? Like, did it ever...
It was the dark force that convinced her to do this and brought her to this conclusion.
To replace the guy, I mean, like, has she been influenced since then? Like, has she been influenced, like, oh, do certain things, that kind of thing? Or has it just been like, oh, replace your dude? Influence.
Ooh, go ahead and make a sagacious roll.
Sure.
It's 5 plus.
It's an
8. Alright, so... no, essentially. But she's fairly positive the issue is that she didn't... one of the things that she'll expose was basically like she didn't care about the fact that the previous leader was working with Naratoki. What she cared about was that the previous leader had hurt her so much.
I get you.
And when this dark force that she can't remember a name and she can't remember a face put this into her head, she went after that opportunity more out of revenge than anything else.
So the old leader was working with Naratoki.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And she'll basically describe that like, oh, Naratoki had basically been willing, like, worked with them and gotten them to stop being so obvious. Gotten them to stop being so obvious, and the people that were like fuck-ups from the Ryoko Ninja, they'd throw them to him and he'd make an example out of them. So you can keep doing the stuff that you're doing, just stop going after people that matter, stop being so obvious, and whenever there's a person who fucks up, I'll catch them and show how good a magistrate I am.
That's a good point. We should have done that shit for today.
Maybe shake hands with her. Good hand.
Yeah, I think she has like either is missing a leg or has like a disfigured smaller leg, almost like a club foot kind of thing.
Okay. Oh, she doesn't know where the journal is, does she?
No.
Yeah. I didn't think so. Just thought I'm gonna ask every single person I ever encountered.
What happens to Yusra?
I think the ninja are going to be in a hell of a lot worse place, and it's going to be more ridiculous if she's not in control. However, we do need her to start doing what her predecessor was doing and stop being so ridiculous. And, like, maybe tone it down a notch, or we will come after you again and we'll find you again, and then there won't be this whole discussion.
Nah.
What do you think?
Okay.
Want to say, Graham?
Yeah.
So take a small person?
So, I mean, as a Gaijin, as a foreigner, she isn't a person.
Yeah.
Like, under the law, like, she's not. So, yeah, so as a Gaijin, if she's not anyone's vassal the way Magda was, or the way the servants in Shinjo Yoshifusa or Hida Baranada's households are, she's no one. Like, she's not even a person under the Rogani law system.
Then yeah, I guess we'll take her in and do the whole torture you to find all your information and arrest all of her compatriots.
Okay, so is that kind of how you find a bunch of that information?
Yeah, it's torture and then just rounding up
So
all of these people that she gives up.
okay,
Yugare, she is a person, but she's a person who did a lot of crimes and is the head of a really terrible organization that did bad things to a lot of people. So, like, whatever respect that he would show to somebody, he would show to her as we drag her into
The torture.
right.
okay. So
Hope you're doing okay.
well, that's the funny thing is, I'll say Pitiful gets a hold of her, Pitiful the torturer, and and boy do you get a lot of information.
City of Lies is Toan as Kakita Aji, Branden as Hida Ishi, David as Bayushi Taiyo, Andrew as Agasha Yugare, and Austin as your game master. The theme music for City of Lies is Mission of Danger by Lobo Loco. Additional music for this episode includes Petrichor by Midair Machine. Our intro was read by Scott. This American Dice Ryoko Owari City of Lies uses the City of Lies box set by Greg Stolz, published by Elderac Entertainment Group. The mechanics used is a modified PBTA system by Brendan Taylor of Galileo Games. Join us next time for more This American Dice.
Named Moody Jench is her very evil sister. She's lewd. But yeah.
Was there personally?
Ikoma, Eureka. Like you discovered something, but in a masculine way. and you speak a Romance language.
There's my chest.
So they basically take credit for
Stole my eye off the windowsill.
Yeah, Marmaduke.
That was a ninja, though.
Yeah, Marmaduke-san. So thinks he's ninja. So